Happy Pride Month. From the PEP Radio Newsroom, this is the news blast for this hour. LGBTQ Nation is reporting that Nebraska has become the latest state to pass an anti-trans sports ban. On Wednesday, Governor Jim Pillen, a Republican, signed the so-called Stand with Women Act, which requires K through 12 and college students in the state to play on teams that correspond with their sex assigned at birth. Students will now be required to present doctor's notes confirming their sex assigned at birth before participating in sports. This is all happening despite the fact that, as reported by the Nebraska School Activities Association, only 10 out trans Nebraskans have applied to play middle and high school sports in the past 7 years. We cannot ignore that girls and women have the right to a level playing field when it comes to sports, said Governor Pillen during the signing ceremony. Otherwise, we are denying them opportunities to compete and win, earn scholarships, and develop their own athletic abilities. During the signing, Pillen was surrounded by lawmakers, athletes, and activists, including anti-trans crusader Riley Gaines, who came in fifth in a swimming competition 3 years ago that nobody cares about anymore except for Riley, who said she is so proud to have been a part of this multi-year fight for women's rights. The bill passed after lawmakers removed provisions that would have also required students to use locker rooms and bathrooms based on sex assigned at birth. State Senator Merv Ripa said he'd vote against the bill if those provisions remained. The bill ultimately passed the legislature with a single filibuster breaking vote. As GLAD has reported, rather than protecting cis women and girls, anti-trans sports bans often lead to harassment and baseless accusations that female athletes are trans. These bans also target a minuscule number of athletes and are ultimately attempting to tackle a problem that simply does not exist. Reporting by the Associated Press in 2021 revealed that dozens of lawmakers who sponsored legislation to restrict trans athletes' participation in school sports couldn't cite a single example in their own state where trans athletes had caused problems. Even more, a recent study found that trans women actually underperform when compared to cis athletes. The study confirms that transitioning presents various physical changes, such as lower center of mass and fat distribution, decreased muscle mass and bone density, and lower blood oxygen levels. Not to mention the fact that it takes longer for trans women's muscles to be able to perform at top peak levels. In other words, they have to have a longer resting period in between events in order to be at their best to compete, longer than cis women and cis girls. The Nebraska bill was introduced at the request of Pillen by State Senator Kathleen Kauth, who first tried to pass an anti-trans sports ban in 2023. The bill did not advance, though, as at the time, Kauth had also proposed a gender-affirming care ban that consumed the legislative debate and ultimately passed. Last year, the Nebraska Supreme Court upheld a law banning gender-affirming care for minors, as well as restricting reproductive rights. The ACLU argued to the court that the legislation violated the Nebraska Constitution's single subject rule, which stated that bills should not contain more than one subject as their focus. The state is riddled with anti-LGBTQ plus laws and policies and has an extremely low equality rating of 2.25 out of 49 by the Movement Advancement Project. In 2023, Governor Pillen signed an executive order establishing the so-called Women's Bill of Rights, which legally defines sex based on what is assigned at birth. That's the news at this hour. Download the Live 365 app to take PEP Radio with you wherever you go. If you are watching our videos on YouTube, be sure to click the subscribe button. Up next, we have the Meadville area weather forecast here on PEP Radio.